underneath your name. You can do real estate or real estate agent because people are searching. It's a whole search engine basically now. So you're not just using hashtags, right? There's so many other ways to get discovered. And so using your bio and your entire profile. So if someone were to just stumble upon your profile, like all willy-nilly, and they find your stuff, like what would they see and how would they perceive you, right? As both a realtor and a person. So one of the best ways of being able to do that and kind of control that at any moment is pinning your best posts on the top of your page. You can do that in both your main grid, right? And your reels grid. What I would say is don't necessarily pin the ones that you just think did the best or that you think are the funniest or you think whatever. Think about that ideal client you have and what's going to connect to them and put that at the top of your posts, right? You just pin them. Does everybody understand how to pin stuff on Instagram? If you don't, it's the 3 little dots at the top of any of your posts. So it's a post that's already been obviously posted and you just hit the 3 little dots and it gives you that option to pin. And you can pin up to 3 at the very top. So that whole first bar. That is when that came out, I like jumped in my chair and like, oh my God, thank God, right? Because I make a lot of funny content, but I also want people to see some educational side. So I can kind of manipulate what people see when they go to my profile by pinning the ones that I want them to see first, right? And then your profile, honestly, like I think so many people stress so hard about making every post all encompassing about who they are and what they offer and how they can help you, right? When like posts are meant to be very bite-sized points. Just one point about your business or one point about how you serve your clients, right? It doesn't have to be, your whole profile will be that full picture for you. You don't always have to focus on that, like, okay, how do I describe my entire brand in 15 seconds, right? Like that's literally not possible, right? So just pick one thing you want to showcase that day and make a post about it. And then all together in your profile will be a beautiful picture of who you are. And then consistency. One thing that drives me bonkers, no offense to anybody, but like when you have graphics that if you do like post graphics on your page, right, that have no, like they don't look consistent at all. Like one day you're using this font and this color, and then the next day you're using this font and this color. Not saying you can ever change anything. It shouldn't look identical, but it should have that same feel, that same consistency. So if they don't see the full context of the post, they know, oh, you know what? That's Emily. I know that because I can tell by the look of her post, right? That's her. It's even as like if you're making reels, using similar text, or fonts and colors and things like that in all your content can help just kind of, our brains like normalcy, right? As sexy as the spontaneity is, like our brains love normalcy. So they love to see something that they can almost predict, to happen. And part of that is the consistency of the look of your content. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I talked about this a little bit before, but keep it really short because the attention span of an adult is literally 8.25 seconds. A goldfish's attention span is 9 seconds, guys. We're literally competing with goldfishes. I'm not kidding you. It's like an actual, I looked it up, science. 96% of consumers prefer short content, short form video. It's more likely to be shared because it's easy, it's bite-sized, it's easy to share and, and consume. And then it always ranks higher in SEO as well, because watch time is really important nowadays. Now it's not all about views. It's not about likes. It's all that, yes, but it also, they take into account watch time. If you have a 10-second video someone watches 8 seconds of, let's call that 80%. Or if you have a 60-second video that people watch 8 seconds of, that's a way less watch time, right? So keep it short, keep it to the point, and just make more content with less bulk in each one. Does that click? I've seen a huge benefit of that, of just really honing down on one specific thing and then going with it, and then another thing and another thing, and it all just builds together.
I just saw something the other day that said like the sweet spot right now. I mean, like you said, it changes all the time. Like the sweet spot is like 10 seconds or less, which obviously goes along with our incredibly short span.
It does. And I think that a lot of us you have to remember why people use social. Now, not everybody uses social for the same thing, but if you're not in a business where you have to promote yourself, right? If you're a 9-to-5er, you go to bed, or you go to bed, you wake up, you go to work, you get off work, and social media is kind of a release or kind of a relaxation thing. People aren't looking to like dive deep, right? They're typically just scroll zombies, right? Just looking. And the second you catch their attention, they'll give you some attention. And if it's something really valuable, don't cut it down because it has to be 10 seconds, right? But know that like cut those ums out, cut the hey guys, cut the crap that like nobody, it filters right through our brains, like in one ear out the other. If you really get down to the bare bones and focus on that, you're going to see a huge engagement spike because you're getting people in that exact moment, getting that point across, and then you're done, right? One thing that is really important is when you are getting leads from social, and I will get to actually how you get leads, I promise. But when you get leads from social, you're not going to get leads if you have crap video. I'll be honest, right? You're not going to get leads if you don't look in some way professional. And I'm talking like I'm a goofball, right? But like I still invest in branding shoots, right? I still have quality photos that I use, and I don't use one single photo every single time, right? Another way to get really good content and just have something in the back pocket is always saving raw video. So before if you take a video on your Instagram stories, like push the save button before you add like the texties and the mentions and all the stuff, because you could use that video later, right? Or like live photos. Always, always, always have your phone on live photos. If you're an Android user, I don't know what the heck it's called. You're gonna have to figure that out. I'm not an Android person, but in Apple, it's live photos where you're gonna have that like kind of 1.5 second clip of when you take a picture. I've used so much of that for like B-roll. You take that 1.5 second clip, you guys, you take the speed and you reduce that down to 0.3. Now you've got like a 5-second video of someone going or whatever, something, whatever, right? But like that's a video right there. And that's like the type of content people want to see. They want to see that type of raw, basic, not super intense kind of video. It's easier than you think. Again, I touched on this and like using your brand colors and kind of hints of real estate. If you're using a certain color, try to use it a lot, right? If people like that predictability, using the same sort of fonts. Now you don't always have to use the same fonts, but like it's important to kind of stay kind of consistent, right? One thing that I will kind of go through an exercise specifically for is keeping a list of topics and FAQs of your ideal client. People are always struggling of what type of content to create, and then their content is crap because it's the same crap over and over and over again, or they went to a company that gives them a template and they just copied and pasted and it's not in their own words, or worse, they found an agent they like and they copied and pasted what they said and just called it good for the day, right? Keep a list of topics that you feel your ideal client likes to see or talk about, right? I just use my notes section on my phone, to be honest. Like I'm not that organized. Just notes section on my phone. And then anytime I get a question more than twice within a couple weeks, I write that in my FAQs, because clearly that is a question that the people I work with are asking themselves if they're not asking me directly. So I want to know and kind of keep track of that, because it's so easy to just answer the question and then be done, right? And like off the cuff and yep, I answered the question, I served them. But why not serve 10 more of those people by writing down that question they asked you and approaching it in your content, right? And then, because I have times where like, it's actually like so satisfying when a client calls me and she's like, hey, I watched, I have a question like this. Now I watched your video, so I know your answer, but I just want to like elaborate on it. And I'm like, oh my God, you like got an answer from me without having to just like call you, like you got it from my content, right? How cool is that? Now we can talk even further without having those initial like same questions I'm answering over and over and over again. And then of course, overlapping your brand pillars. It's really like single moms. I like helping single moms in real estate. I connect those as I was a single mom that bought a house, right? I love helping single moms buy houses because I think it's super empowering to be a single income person and buy a house on your own for you and your children, right? So like I can overlap those two based off my relatability and real estate. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, so creating the right content. I go through this exercise with my clients, with my team during like business planning. And you guys can take screenshots of this or whatever. I think it'll be easiest that way. But this is an example of how I kind of break down those brand pillars I talked about, of just making yourself like a web diagram, whatever we called it, a spider. I don't even know what it's called. I think it's a web diagram. And you take those 4 columns and just start actually writing this down in your notebook of like what applies to you in each of these categories. Doesn't have to be a lot, right? Some are going to be longer than others, but you at least get about 2 or 3 in each section for you to hone down on, because you can dissect every single one of these things down to a T. So obviously your real estate, your market area, your skill sets, analogies. This is a good example of, I didn't know I was good at something, and I asked my team and people that I respect around me that work with me what I'm good at and what they like rely on me for. And a lot of our agents are like, well, you're really good at analogies. Like, you're really good at making something make sense that's otherwise confusing by making it, into a different topic. And so I put that as my skill set. And a lot of my reels are something funny, but it's an analogy for something related to real estate. And I didn't even realize I was really doing that. I guess I did, but not in that way. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, a lot of my content is about analogies. Like, that's one of my skill sets, right? So you can ask the people around you or people that you work with, or even like your spouse, your partner, what are something that you would say, like, oh, what is Hannah good at, right? And ask them, like, what would you say? And you'd be surprised that some people might say something completely different than what you're thinking you're good at, right? And that way you can kind of fill out that section, because I know some personalities, it's harder to write down what you're good at, right? It's harder to like give yourself credit. So if you have to ask people around you, do it. And then relatability, that could be anything. I could go on for miles, right, with that list, because that's easy. That's just who you are, what you like, what you don't like. The next part is you're going to break down. So all of these right here, these topics that I put under my real estate, I break down into a whole another sheet of listing the common just interests or pain points of those people. So I just started one as I had move up buyers as one of my real estate topics. So I put move up buyers. And then underneath, I put a pain point of coordinating a sale and purchase at the same time. That's a huge pain point. That's always I get questions at. How do I do that? Blah, 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 right? So, and you could go on and on. So if you take the 2 or 3 real estate people or types of client that you have and put them in these blue boxes here, or blue circles, I guess, and then write down some of the interests or pain points they might have. What are they thinking about as that move up buyer? What are they thinking about as a first time home buyer, for instance, right? Does that make sense so far? We're listing out each one of those. And then we're going to take each one of those pain points. Do you see how fast you can come up with so much content ideas? Because then you're going to take one of those pain points. So you went from all of your real estate topics, took one of those topics, turn those into topics, and turn those into pain points. And now you have coordinating a sale and purchase at the same time as your pain point. And then you can list out some of the solutions that you might think about, and then how you could actually add value to that. Right? So for instance, breaking it down to a realistic timeline. Maybe I might offer or come up with a worksheet of just kind of the general timing and how to start as a move up buyer, right? For us, that's general knowledge, right? But not to the people that are thinking about doing it, right? Not to the general public. We have to remember, like, we're agents that are around this all the time. Our clients are not. Or that might be that they need to use short-term storage, right? Maybe they need to store most of their stuff in order to get their house sold and move to the next without feeling like they have to take everything all at once and plop it down in the next house. That might be that I might offer them a list of favorite storage companies or storage hacks, right? That I could put out there for people that are specifically moving up or, changing homes. And then I put rent for a short time in between. A lot of people around here, especially in the wintertime, they'll do like a short-term rent. So they'll try to sell and then short-term rent and then buy. So having a list of short-term rental options for them in the area that they are at, super value, right? Like, that would be perfect for someone in their situation. So that now I have this huge list of all these value adds, right? And again, this is one section out of one of my sections of real estate. You could go back and do that for every single line item that you listed. You know what I mean? And really hone down on that. I'm trying to, oh, here we go. You know what? I'm going to make you host again too. So does that work?
For what? What are you trying to do?
People are still coming in.
Oh,
I think I got him. I got people in. You're good.
Oh.
You're good.
Oh, because I'm not host anymore. I made Nikki host because my computer freaked out for a second.
They won't let me make you host again. I guess I have all the control. Okay, that's fine.
You and Nikki have it. You'll be fine. I have full faith.
I'll be fine. I'm ADHD. Okay, so we have these value adds, right? Sorry, I'm clicking away. I want to give you guys a shock. And if you do this right, do this over and over again, and then you have all these different lists. Now it kind of comes into the actual lead gen portion of what you can do with this stuff and turn it into content. For instance, if I was doing, a worksheet for the general timing, I could, in the way that I do my content, everybody does content differently. The way I do content, I would probably do a reel, probably something funny about and mentioning how timing a sale and purchase at the same time. And then in my caption, again, this is just how I do it. Everyone can do it a little differently. In my caption, I would offer then a worksheet for anyone that is looking to sell and buy in this market that would help them with their general timing and where to start. Does that make sense of how I got here? Cool. So in order to do that, now everybody, because I've done this training before, just a little different. I've had agents go, well, that's where you have me. I don't have that worksheet. I don't have that list. Cool. You're literally supposed to be the problem solver, right? Like, so let's problem solve and let's make the tools that we need, that our clients need. Because if we're really working with those types of clients and that's our clientele, we should have a lot of these problems solved already, right? And we just have to put them into either a package or package them up, or maybe you already have them, right? But some of the easiest ways, if you have any sort of subscription service like coffee contracts, doesn't have to be coffee contracts, to be any, there's a bunch out there nowadays. Etsy, right? Dude, everything's on Etsy. You could put in the most random words in the search bar of Etsy and someone has homemade something of it, right? It's insane. Etsy has so many templates that you can literally buy, and then it puts you right into Canva to add your own photo, change your fonts, whatever you want. Or you can also go to Fiverr and actually hire someone to make what you're thinking. Hey, I've got these short-term rentals. I want this made into a list. This is what I want it to look like. Here's $5. Right? You'll probably have it in 24 hours. So there's many ways that you can actually create these things without having to be a designer, having to be someone that's like super good at creating this type of stuff. It's very, very simple. And then as you get going on it, these things are going to be evergreen for you, right? How many people use Canva? I'm assuming, I feel like that's like should be part of the realtor course nowadays, is like a Canva intro because we all use it. So that's your best.
I live and die by my Canva.
So this was made on Canva, right? Like everything of my marketing and everything is all on Canva. It's a beautiful thing. And yeah, it just gets better and better. So leveraging this content. So basically, so far we've kind of broken down your brand into a few pillars. We've broken those pillars down to topics, and then topics into solutions that you can add value to your clients with, right? Does that all click so far? Now we're gonna be able to leverage it. So I'm going to get a little more strategic of how we do it. I use certain programs. You can obviously use any of the programs that you have yourself, but I like to talk about what I actually do because people always want to know what I use. So what I use is Flowdesk. Does everybody know Flowdesk? Anybody use Flowdesk? Yeah, cool. I love it. It's basically, you guys, you can use it for email marketing. There's a lot of other things you can use it for, but my main thing is like my newsletters go out of it. You can use KV Core. You can use any of your CRM systems. It's all the same, to be honest. So whatever system you're going to use is the one that you should use. But I like Flowdesk personally because of the look and the feel, and it's very user-friendly. So that's why I use it. It might take you a couple of times to kind of work with it, but I am going to try to show you some of the main things that you can use with it. And but you can use, like I said, if you have KV Core, for instance, you can do the same form, same sort of thing in that program as well. And yeah, it does take some work and some learning. Sorry, because I get complaints about that all the time where agents like, oh, I have to learn something. I'm out. I thought you were just going to teach about Instagram. It's like, yeah, this is part of it. Although I'm very goofy on Instagram, I have a lot of strategy behind it, I promise. So Flowdesk is super easy to use once you get used to it, but all you have to do is make two things on Flowdesk: a new form and then a workflow, right? So when you hit into flow test, this is just kind of the top of the page here. And forms is one of your options, and you're going to create a new form. So again, I'm going to use the example of what was my worksheet for general timing, right? So I'm going to use that as my example. I just made a reel about timing the market and timing a sale plus purchase, and I offered this printable worksheet for those types of clients. Cool. I'm going to make a new form, and then the next option, you're going to hit full page, and you can go ahead and take pictures of this or whatever you want, but full page. I actually, no, hold on. I'll get you the slides. Full page, and then you go, and this will be, there's plenty of different forms types you can hit. I just picked literally the first one on the top of the list, right? It's very basic. It's not the point. Don't get over analytical like I do in Canva every day. Just pick it and create, right? So you're just going to click on that, and it's going to bring you to this. This is kind of the beauty of one of the things I like about Flowdesk and their forms, which again, you can do in a lot of other CRMs, is segment. So segment, if you use KV Core, for instance, they're like hashtags, right? It's basically segmenting those people into a certain group for you to go back later and be able to market to or reach out to or have this email list for. So you would choose a segment or create a new one. Maybe that's, you know, move up buyers. That could be a segment that you would put there because obviously this was given out for move up buyers. So you're going to pick a segment of just saying, okay, yep. So that's going to go into this little group of mine on, you know, in my Flowdesk account. And then from there, you have this this form that you've created. I just put a GIF. I didn't even want to put my own picture in this because I was just making it for whatever, right? And look how easy it is. Like it's literally like it breaks down. Okay, what kind of font do you want? How big do you want it? You know, just like kind of a Canva, right? And you type in all you want. You just click on each piece. I always say last name for first name, last name, and email address. And that's literally, and this is what the form will look like. It's very basic. It's not some giant website you have to create or a squeeze page or whatever. This is kind of its own thing. So that's the form. Cool? Cool. From there, we have this form here. So now, okay, I've put a reel out there. I've said to people, I have this worksheet. Cool. I've created a form for them to fill out in order to get said worksheet. So the form they fill out is this one. And then I make a lead magnet to actually get them that piece of paper or that piece of content. So by doing so, we just hit to the top here again, and you go to workflows, and you're just going to create, you're basically telling the system, hey, if this happens, I want this to happen and then this to happen, right? That's a workflow for you, is if this happens, you're telling the system, if this happens and this happens and this happens, make it happen automatically for me. Because this is going to automate it so you don't have to sit there and you say, DM me for more info. And then what are you doing? You're glued to your DMs waiting for someone to message you so that you can get right back to them so that you can prove that you're so competent and you can respond to them immediately and get them what they want. That's not going to work when it comes to actually generating leads and getting people in your inbox. So this is automating that for you with a workflow. So you're just hitting new workflow, and then they literally have one called lead magnet delivery, right? That's exactly what we're making. So perfect. Pick lead magnet delivery. Super, super easy. From there, this is what that workflow looks like. So it'll tell you what subscriber or what segment do you want to happen. So when someone comes in, like in my example, I said I wanted the segment to be called move up buyers. So I would click move up buyers as a segment, meaning anytime someone were to enter in my system and fall under that category or that basket named move up buyers, this is what I want to happen. Okay. And then it's just going to be this already pre-written email, and you literally click on the email and you can type in however you want. You can change that font, anything, right? It's similar to Canva. And on the download here, you upload that worksheet or whatever, the PDF, the thing that you're offering to people, right? You're going to upload that as a document to there. Cool. And then it'll tell you, you know, what's your subject line, what's your preview text. Awesome. Right now you have this workflow with an email on it that's going to be sent anytime someone fills out that form. And you can see this is just what it looks like on the website. It just shows, okay, a subscriber. This is for something we did for the sales conference. That's why it says that. Every time they get added to this segment, they're going to immediately get an email from me, right? That says this with a download button. And then from that download, they're going to get a thank you page, basically, with any time they download. Oh my gosh, awesome, right? You've used Flowdesk to your ability, and now you've got this all set up. There's only one more thing to do to automate this. I do have, because people ask, I have a $50 off if you've never used Flowdesk before. Just go to my Instagram bio and it's like one of the links or whatever. But if you want to try Flowdesk out, otherwise, like I said, any CRM you're using, it's 2024. They all have these functions. You just have to figure out what they use, and it's probably just different language that they use to describe everything, you know. Okay. How many of people have heard of ManyChats? Yeah, okay. So a good number of you. ManyChats, I know, is like definitely a lot of people have heard of it, but are like, oh yeah, like I'll deal with that, right? Or I'll when I get good content, I'll do that, right? Or whatever the case is. You start using ManyChats, because the more you use it, the more your followers are going to get used to having these call to actions on your pages. And you're going to be able to streamline that where you can post something with a call to action and leave and go do showings and go do what we're meant to do as realtors and not have to be glued to your phone hoping that someone messages you. And when they do, you're like freaking out because you're not home and you can't send them what they asked for right away. And then guess what? Attention span, they're done. They don't want the worksheet anymore, right? So ManyChats is super, super easy to use. There's lots of functions on it. So that might be the only like overwhelming part for people that just get going on ManyChats, but all that you should be using it for this purpose is the automations, right? It's just one of the options here at the homepage, automations. This is what's going to get you to trigger all of these automated flow desk forms and all of these things. So I just hit the new automation button right in the on the website. It's just literally manychats.com. And from here it gives you all these options. Now, for the purpose of this training, I use the one where user comments on a post or reel. And you can see there's all these other options too that you can use this for, so you can really dive deeper into it. But in this example, I wrote, I posted a reel. It's giving people call to action to comment something on my posts. And for commenting something, I'm going to give them something free, right? So we're going to hit user comments on a post. And then from there, it walks you through, is it any post or is it a specific one? You can pick any specific post that you already made. Or you can even do the other option. I should have done the drop down as a screenshot. The other option is to do the next post that comes, right? So if you're about to post a reel, you can, and you're just setting this all up in the back end, you can say the next reel I post, this should, equate to it, not every single one. And then you just do, it's already on there for you as comment contains specific word. Now, except in this example, I did if you know, you know. But you could do home value, you could do worksheet, you could do timing, right? Any word that I would say, I have had sometimes where people comment and they had a typo, even though I literally write out the word for them. And then they're pissed because they don't get it. And I'm like, hey, you know what? It helps my engagement because I comment back to them and it makes it it's fine, but it is kind of funny. So make it like a basic word. I know that sounds dumb, but attention spans, make it a basic one word if you can. And that will trigger again, if they comment that on that post that you decided, this will happen next, right? And then I always do a public auto response so that the comments were replied to for me. You don't have to do that. You could decide that later in the day you're going to go back and comment yourself. But I just put a public auto response. And that's like the beginning of, that's what they're calling the trigger, right? That's triggering something else to happen. So someone comments this word on my reel, what's going to happen? This is going to happen. They're going to get this DM. So this is just what your DM is going to get. So you can type in here, oopsies, sorry. There you go. You can type in here, thanks so much. Let me know if you're interested in anything else or whatever you want to put in here, right? I usually put something that I would actually respond like, let's go, right? Because I'm just a little obnoxious like that. And that will be the message that pops up for them along with this slide here or the link here. So if you click on that, it'll bring it up like this and you can add any link that you want. So you see like, okay, let's step back. Who follows the Amazon Finds ladies? Amazon Find, like, oh, comment 436KFL and I'll send you the links or whatever, right? Or like comment autumn fall or whatever the crap that they tell. This is what they're using, guys. This is what they're using. And they're like, I'll send you the link to my Amazon storefront. Guess what? They're just putting their Amazon storefront in this URL spot and that's being sent to you. So if you follow any of those accounts that say comment this and I'll send you this, this is what they're using, right? If you didn't already know. So it's as easy as filling out the message that you want to appear as soon as they comment to you. This is going to be in their DM, obviously. And then the link here. What is the link? When you made that form, it offers you a URL to that link or to that form, excuse me. So you're going to take the URL that you have made that form, the guy with the dancing, Get Hannah's slides or whatever it was named at that time. You're going to get that URL from Flowdesk when you create it and you just plop that right in there. Now you have it set where it's going to trigger. They comment this, they're going to get this DM and the DM is going to have this link on it for them. Okay, so if you go to my Instagram, you can see it happen in real time as a consumer side. I love Usher. I can't wait for the Super Bowl. And Taylor's going to be there. Oh my God, I can't. who cares about, I love football too. And I'm like, do I really care about the football even? Like, I don't know. And usually I'm like the one screaming at the TV. So if you go to any one of my posts right now and you comment IYKYK, if you know, you know, you will see this exact workflow happen for you. And what you're going to get is a copy of the step-by-step workflow that I just showed you. So from the very beginning of this like section of flow desk to ManyChats, you'll get all of those slides showing you step by step, because I know I ran through it really quickly and I know it's a lot of different steps. So you'll get that for free. And then, again, you'll comment it, you'll get a DM from me. They'll say, let's go, get the link here. You click on the link, it'll bring you to the Flowdesk form saying, fill out your information, first name, last name, email. Then you're going to get a message back saying, check your email. You're going to check your email and it's going to be that freebie email. And it says, hey, thanks so much. Download here. And those are my slides.
Already got it. I just did
Oh my
it.
God, I'm not even on Instagram right now.
I did it. Like, she's multitasking, you guys.
I wanted to show you guys how it actually looks, because I think it's important, you know, it looks on the consumer side too, because then it I mean, at least for me, like it clicks then of like how it actually works. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then literally from there, with that, every time someone fills out that form, now not only did you give them a value add, right? But if you want to go into deeper, you can go back to your workflow that you have here, and you can add a follow-up email a day later. Hey, I saw you got that worksheet. What did you think? Right? Or are any questions on the worksheet I sent you? Is there anything that's still concerning? What are some other concerns you might have about trying to juggle a sale and purchase at the same time? Right? And you could get them even on a drip campaign, because now you have their email. It's in a certain segment. You know what they're interested in. You know what they reached out to you about. Right? And now you have all these ways, and you have that. So then that same, and you're thinking, oh my God, all for one piece of content. No. Now, every few posts, especially if it's a value that is for your ideal client, every couple posts, you can say the same damn thing. Hey guys, comment this to get this general timing worksheet, right? I'm just using that example, and push that worksheet over and over and over again and have the same workflow. You're not having to set this up every single time. It's just a one and then blast it out every so often. So yeah, I think that was it. Oh, and then it's just exactly what I just said, basically. It'll build your database for you. And again, if you are using your own CRM, that's great. It'll automatically filter in your CRM. I use Flowdesk, and then we have it set up with Zapier. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, to go back to my KV Core, just because I house everything in KV Core for now, just because that's what I've used forever. But yeah, Zapier is what I do to kind of connect them to make them talk. And yeah, I think that's it. And then I do have a course coming out, so that'll be on my Instagram, but if you're interested. And that's it.
Well, you got to go back to that, because I know Emily didn't have her phone up fast enough to get that QR code.
Oh, there you go.
You know me so well.
Can you tell us what your course is going to be on? Because I didn't know.
Yes, so, well, my goal sheet said it should have been out by the end of 2023. But
Hannah, 30 days past that. You're not too far.
Yeah, Hannah failed at that, but that's okay. I basically wanted to make it about one thing, and I made it into everything. So I made it to basically be from the very start of getting your Instagram, not like starting an account, but getting it fully set up. A little bit of what we touched on at the beginning of setting that up to be completely utilized to the fullest, you know, with SEO and everything, to also a lot of how-tos on creating content, specifically reels, especially just because I know that there's a lot of questions on that. And then using like lead gen, kind of like one of some like this, like what I talked about, lead generating on your social. What else does it have? A lot of engagement hacks and just engagement rules to follow. Yeah, a lot. And that's probably the reason why I've taken so long, because I'm a high D, high C, which is like super rare. And that's the person that drives himself nuts, because you're a driver and you want to get shit done, but you're also a perfectionist and you just overanalyze everything. So it's really fun, but it should be out very shortly. I've just been putting basically everything into it. So hopefully it'll be good.
I love it. Thank you. I'm sure it'll do really well. You have so many people who are influenced by you and love all of the stuff that you do. Will you throw up your next slide really quick before you get out of there so people who might not follow you can get in there and make sure that they follow you? So
Yes.
if you're not already following Hannah, you should be. She's hilarious. She's fun. She's outside of the box, total modern agent. Love it. And she's really entertaining, and I love all of your stuff. It's so good. And I love this. I just started dabbling with using ManyChat and doing a little bit with that. And then we use Flowdesk for our emails that we send out for Modern Agent Blueprint. So we always send out like the recording and like what's coming up next. And Nikki and I are working on some stuff for courses ourselves and stuff like that. In fact, I just messaged Nikki. I was like, we really got to work on that. So it's awesome. I love seeing what you're doing because there's so much that we only see like this part of things, right? We don't see the behind the scenes of what else you're doing. And I think it's super important. And I love to see and hear what you're sharing and all that. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I think even if this is very overwhelming as far as all the systems and the things you can use, my one piece of advice, if you really want to actually like strategically get business from Instagram, and is anytime someone is messaging you or talking to you about real estate or commenting on things, you need to add them to your database and have them as an actual prospect on your list. We all kind of keep those separate in social media as just like people you're talking to, but it is as strategic as any other lead gen. And so if someone does mention, like put them in your CRM, get them out the coffee or get their contact information some way, somehow invite them to an event and use them, not use them, use it as an actual lead gen. Don't just house it all in social and just think that they're just going to magically start working with you because you've DM'd them a couple times. Because I've made that mistake myself. But yeah. Cool. Are we good?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Hannah? Valerie, I saw that your hand was up, but I also thought maybe that was because you were raising your hand to answer a question. So I just want to make sure if anybody has any questions that you have a chance to ask. Really, nobody has a question? I find this hard to believe.
I think she covered a lot of it. Like now it's just going to be implementing it and, trying to not forget things. So I took lots of notes.
I know that's the key, right? Like, oh wait, what was that next step?
Yep.
I love your slides that you had with like breaking down your ideas. We've talked about that here before on, people are always like, oh, I don't know what to post. And it is actually really easy to think about what to post. I mean, we've talked about this before, where if you think about a subject, selling a house, and then breaking down, making that like the title of your book, and then breaking down each chapter. And, you literally can go through and if you sat down and really thought about each process or each like move up buyer, first time home buyer, relocation, whatever it may be, if you start breaking down each of those little things here and there and like the whole thing, you would have 6 years worth of content. Like you could have a video a day off of probably like 2 or 3 different things. So, I mean, if you really break it down, I mean, obviously you need to figure out who your ideal client is, who you're speaking to. You don't want to speak to everybody, but I think if you really break that down, I love those slides. I took pictures of those slides. I think it's so important to really figure out who you're talking to and what you really want to convey or what you want your ideal buyer to be, your ideal client who's coming to you. Why are they coming to you? Well, this is why I specialize in this. So I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's and that's why I use like in my notes section of my phone all the time. And then because I like to make them into like analogies or something funny with trending audio or something that's just like a running joke right now, I will find trending audios and like save them and then kind of like compare them to my list of FAQs or problems that my clients, have or experience and be like, oh, and I kind of, that would work, right? Or that could be a good way of describing it. And then you can make content that's both entertaining while having an actual point that relates to your people, not just trying to follow a trend that is talking about like the Stanley Cups. Like that's fine, but that's not necessarily doing anything more than following a trend. Like, how do you relate that back to real estate? And specifically what your clients want to see, you know, what your ideal client is. But yeah. Well, awesome. Any other questions or anything? Promise there won't be any stupid questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I think that was super helpful. I loved all of it. I mean, I think it's great to get a peek inside Hannah's brain and what's going on back there, because I think we only get like this little snippet of, you know, the after of everything. So it's great to see what you do on the back end. And Bill, you just joined us at the very end. We're literally wrapping up, but
I was here all the time. I was on Facebook. I just didn't want to kind of flip everything over, but questions, Hannah, that was amazing. And
Oh.
I'm wondering, you know, you for doing the session you're going to teach, do you also workshop this stuff? I think it would be good for everybody to get hands-on and workshop through it. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot with my team in person. We do Workday Wednesdays where we all get to the office and we all work on something specific. But I have tried to figure out, I will be figuring that out, of like some sort of workshop, because I think it's one thing to learn about it, and then we take pictures of slides, or we get copies of slides, and then we get distracted by a showing, and then all of a sudden like we never actually accomplish it or do it at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Having some sort of hands-on activity, I'm gonna figure that out, and then I'll
That would be cool. And, you know, because all the ties, everything you've already got, like from KV Core, where you're housing other stuff, tying everything in with Zapier, you know, we can all sit there and do that. But if we could do it together, I think it would increase the speed of everybody actually implementing.
actually gets done. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I
you were
think
awesome.
that's the hardest thing. Because I think you're the third realtor that I've talked to with Flowdesk and ManyChat, and yet I think 5 months have gone by and I still haven't actually implemented them. It's like, clearly it's the right thing to do, but getting it done.
well, I think we also have to like back up 1 second and just be like, okay, is this what I need to be focusing on right now? Because I think, you know, while all these things are great, I also think that you have to really, is this like economical for me? Does it make sense for me? Can I do some of these things through KV Course, through something else that maybe you're already paying for if it's not within your budget? Is there, you know, some kind of workarounds or something? But also, you know, you do have to just make sure that it fits with what you're trying to do right now. And I think like for the longest time was like, oh, I gotta do that. But then it's like, well, then I gotta create the content and I gotta create the thing. And then I gotta do this. And then it just like weighs down on you. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, put it on if it's not something you can do immediately, take your baby steps to it. And, you know, you have Hannah who's, you know, just talked about how to set it all up. But maybe the first step is creating the thing. Like you were saying, we're the problem solvers. So maybe it's, you know, finding the thing on Etsy to be able to create for your clients, or creating it yourself, and then, you know, start utilizing those things, and then keep going to the next step, because you don't necessarily need it all at once. Because I feel like we have like the shiny object syndrome, and there's always these things that we want, we need, and, you know, it becomes overwhelming to a lot of people, me. Sometimes it becomes very overwhelming. So I think, you know, like I just did my first ManyChat a couple weeks ago, and, you know, I'm like so proud of myself for getting this one thing done. But then it's like, okay, well, now that wasn't so hard. Maybe I could do another, or I'll do something different. But I think you know, it's great to have all of these projects and things in mind, but just, we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace too, that we can't do it all, and we can't do it all at once.
Yeah, and to that point, this has definitely been a built thing, right? Like chapter 7 is not your chapter 1, right? So like I've built this as I've gone. So what I was talking to a new agent the other day is like, break down your brand pillars and really nail those, right? Have those as like, all right, I have these great ideas, these solutions for the people that I want to work with. And then again, you're going back and not just the real estate section, your market area, right? What are the pain points of people that live in Minnesota? Pretty freaking easy to think about that one, right? And things like that, and start there. And then if you just get used to at least having the content ideas and making the content, knowing like, yes, there's a bunch of automation and that's what we want to get to, but maybe it's going to be a little bit more manual. Maybe at this point, you just have the point of say, you know what, I'm going to get better content that hits my brand pillars more specifically. And then I'm going to give people a call to action, but it's going to be more of like a DM me directly and I'll get you what you need. Right. And then just manually, what's your email? And I'll send something over, or I would love to chat about it. Maybe you don't even have that freebie right away. Maybe it's just that you're giving people the call to action to call you or talk to you.
Mhm.
And then from there, you're adding them to your database, right? Like we should be doing for everybody anyways. And then once you get good at that and you're like, okay, now I'm kind of getting a lot of influx. Maybe I'm getting a lot of people DMing me. Now I need to put them into some sort of form. So maybe I'm going to add Flowdesk onto that or some sort of my CRM. And I'm going to say, all right, so every time someone comes in, I'm going to just at least have the form as like a copied and paste in my notes so that if someone does DM me, I can copy and paste that form, you know, that link myself into a DM and send their way. Then at least it's automating them putting in their information. I have it housed somewhere without having to add it myself. And then once you get good at that, you know what I mean? And building on it. So you don't have to do all of this all at once, but knowing like what your end game is of like how automated you want it to become by starting at foundationally, I'm going to start with the content and get people to actually engage and it be specific to the people I want to work with.
Yeah.
And then from there.
Yeah. So I think, you know, for those of you who are kind of just starting or you're just starting to get more comfortable in front of the camera or whatever, like she said, start with your who you want to talk to, what you want to talk about. So your pillars, figure that out, and then just grow from there and build from there. Don't think that you know, just starting out need to have all of this stuff laid out. So I think it's all great to have. And I just, I get overwhelmed with a lot of this stuff and I have all these ideas in my head and all these coulda, woulda, shoulda's. And it's like, you know, I need to like take a step back for a second. What do I need to do right now? And I think once you start building and you start growing, that's when you can, you know, implement a lot of this stuff. But ManyChat, there's free ManyChat. So you don't necessarily have to pay for ManyChat right off the bat. So if you have something that people ask you for all the time, start with something like that. Start with something easy, or maybe it's a checklist, or maybe it's something, do something simple and easy to start out with, test it out, test the waters, and then you can add and grow from there. But, you know, it's great. I mean, we all have all these things and we have all these tools in our belt. We have to get it out to the people. And I think it's a great way to do it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Like one would be the really easy one to start is I do like a Minnesota or Twin Cities relocation guide, right? So anybody trying to come to the Twin Cities, and guess where I got that? I got that from a template that I plopped in my information, my own words, right? Took me maybe 20, 30 minutes to like get it down. And now I push that every so often. And it's a value add that I have for anybody thinking about moving to Minnesota. Easy peasy. I didn't have to create it myself. I literally have a template that I bought, right? And then I got from that. So it is just about kind of building onto it and finding out what you can actually commit to, and what you can do right now is something you can do for a very, very long time without stopping, and then adding up from there. So I hope you didn't get too overwhelmed, but now you have my slides. So, you know, when you get to that point, you have a step-by-step of how to do it. And yeah. I'm always here. I'm the only one that checks my DMs. I don't have an assistant that does messaging or anything like that. So when you message me on Instagram, it is me and only me. So if you do have questions, I'm always happy to help. I love agents, you know, getting going on social media. I know it's super nerve-wracking for a lot of people and overwhelming. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm just me. I'm normal. I promise. I'm goofy, but I'm just normal. So feel free to message me with anything. I'm happy to help.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. This was awesome. I really appreciate you joining us. We'll probably have to have you come back on again. But I really appreciate you hopping on here with us today and doing this presentation. Was awesome. And again, if you want to get her slides, go to her Instagram page and type in IYKYK. If you know, you know. All right. Exactly. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have an awesome day, guys.
My pleasure. Bye.